What is up guys, KeyLinePie here. As many of you guys know, Ganyu just got released in Genshin Impact, so there's a lot of craze about her, so I just want to make this video to give a little bit of a showcase of some mechanics and tips that you should know if you're going to be summoning for Ganyu or if you already own Ganyu to help improve your damage. Alright, to start off this video, I'm going to talk about two very important mechanics for this game, but they are also very important mechanics to understand if you guys want to play Ganyu and improve Ganyu's damage. For those that watched my previous pre-release Ganyu video, you guys got a little glimpse of these mechanics. The mechanics are being the element application strength and element application cooldown. In this game, every time you apply an element to a target, it has a strength value. So you can see up here, there's 3 different strength values of 1U, 2U, and 4U with 9.5 second, 12 second, and 16.8 second duration. This U stands for units, in which you can apply this element by multiple targets or multiple hits to increase the unit severity of going from 1U to 2U or 4U strength. This principle is very important because when you do elemental reactions, what's going to happen is you're going to take 2 different elements of 2 different strengths and clash them together to create a reaction. So if you have a 2U base clashed with a 1U reactor, what will happen is that the 2U duration will be cut down by the 1U reactor and leave the base element for a couple seconds. However, if you took a 1U base and then clashed it with a 2U reactor, it'll just consume both reactions in total. I know this is a little bit confusing, so I'm going to show you an example of it real quick. If you look at this chart here, which I'll be putting down in the description below, you can see that Bennett has a strength value of 2 on his elemental skill and his burst skill, except for when he's holding down his elemental skill. And if you scroll down, you'll see Ganyu has a strength value of 1U on her aim shot and her bloom from her charge shot. If we hop back into game here, you'll see that this rune guard has no element, where if I apply element with Bennett's elemental skill and then use a charged arrow with Ganyu, you'll see that the pyro still lingers over until he catches on fire. Now what I'm going to showcase here is using Bennett's elemental skill and then a fully charged Ganyu arrow, which is going to have 2 applications of 1U strength, where right here you'll see that both parts will be melting and no fire is left over. Now I'm going to redo that example with 1 Diluc elemental skill, which has a strength of 1U, and I'm going to do a fully charged Ganyu arrow. You'll see here that the cryo is going to linger and take over because it's going to react with the 1U, and then the second part of the arrow is going to apply a 1U cryo. So we're going to repeat that one last time, but this time we're going to use Xiangling, who has Guoba that has a strength of 1U per fire breath. However, the fire breath spits 4 times over 10 seconds. And now we're going to fire a single rank charged arrow, and you'll see the pyro is being left over because the single charged arrow is only 1U strength. Guoba also only has 1U strength. However, the multiple breaths that get fired increase the strength level of the fire from 1 to a higher degree. Keep in mind there is an internal cooldown before you can apply element again, so that you can do another elemental reaction or increase the strength of your element. But before we do that, I actually want to show you something neat about melting with cryo. You'll see here that there is no element applied here. Now I'll apply a Diluc element, and if I do a quick charged arrow tier 2, I'm actually going to do a double melt. But if you wait a little too long and go and do your charged arrow, as you see here, it won't double melt and it'll apply the cryo instead. The reason why there's double melts despite there being a 1U pyro base into 2 1U cryo applications is because cryo melts are actually a weaker reaction. You can also see this when you use Chong's burst skill, where you'll see I'll use Diluc's elemental skill into Chong's skill, and you'll see the first 2 hits hit for 800 and the last hit for about 500. This time I'm going to be using Bennett's elemental skill, which is a stronger pyro application, into Chong's burst skill, where you'll see all hits are 800 this time. And lastly, so we can move on to another topic, I'm going to show you how 2U cryo application, which is going to be Chong's elemental skill, interacts with a 1U pyro application, which is going to be Diluc's elemental skill, to showcase a pyro melt. You'll see here that after I use Diluc's elemental skill, all the elements are fully consumed, even if it was a 2U into a 1U, because pyro melts are a strong reaction. Alright, now what I'm going to showcase is internal cooldown. You'll see here I'm going to use Chong's elemental skill and spam Diluc's elemental skill here, and you'll see I am able to apply the pyro, but I'm not able to get the pyro off with the cryo until a while later, despite me using my auto attacks that are cryo infused because of Chong's elemental skill. Now I'm going to be showcasing what would typically be happening with Ganyu burst into Diluc burst, where you'll use Ganyu's burst here and then Diluc's burst into an elemental skill chain with auto attacks weaved in between. You'll see here my pyro is being added, but I'm not cryo melting or melting in general for a while. Now let's quickly compare that reaction rate with something like Xingqiu's burst reaction rate. I'm going to use Xingqiu's burst into an auto to apply hydro, into Diluc's burst, into a combo chain. You'll see that I'm actually applying the reactions over and over at a lot quicker rate, even though it is being back and forth between Pyro vaporizes and Hydro vaporizes. The reason for this is because Ganyu has an ICD just like Xingqiu, but Ganyu's hit rate against a single target with her burst is not very high. How her burst works is something like this. Ganyu's burst will put down a field and then it'll scan the area to go and see if there's a target and drop an icicle on them. You can see here these icicles actually can hit multiple targets. One icicle has a small size AoE, and so if you have these targets put together, it will actually do multi-hits on them. That's why putting something like Venti with Ganyu is actually very good, although Venti is a limited time character, so not everyone is able to have it. And before people ask in the comments, Venti is expected to return just like all the other limited units, although the dates are not specified when they will return. It is rumored that Venti might return on 1.4, however, do take it with a big ocean of salt because we don't know any evidence at all that that will be true. Now let me show you Ganyu's burst skill when you only have 3 targets in the area. You'll see here I'm going to put down the burst, and now you'll see that the icicles are falling on the targets. However, there are some icicles randomly falling in random spots of the field because it has nobody else to target. Now I'm going to show the burst with the single target aspect because that's what the current abyss is, and there might be other abysses in the future. You'll see here that the icicles are falling at a pretty decent rate, but it's in about a 1-2 fashion, or a little bit random. You can see a lot of these icicles that are falling in the field are very random with where they land, other than the ones where they're targeting the guy. Also keep in mind that the icicles are not homing, so if the target is moving like dashing such as the Minotaur, or if they get knocked out, the icicles might not hit. In the other sense, you could knock a target into a random icicle as well. The next mechanic I want to talk about is Snapshotting. Snapshotting is basically where if you use an attack, it'll retain the same stats for the entire duration of the attack as when you first used the attack. So for an example, if you use Bennett's burst, try to make sure you're always using Ganyu's burst inside of the Bennett burst with the attack buff, because you'll see here that I'm getting an attack bonus during the entire portion of Bennett's burst, even if I'm not inside of it, even if it expires, even if I switch characters. You see I'm always doing 45, 48. Another mechanic you're going to want to keep in mind about Ganyu is that you're going to generate 2 energy on the initial hit and 2 energy on the after hit. So if you do use Ganyu's elemental skill and then swap off of her, just keep in mind that you're going to want to come back on her when it does expire in 6 seconds or when the Lotus is destroyed. If you guys don't know how energy gain works, feel free to watch my energy guide video on my channel. If you are using something like Sacrificial Bow, you could just spam your elemental skill button and it will put down both Lotuses and deal damage to the target both times despite you going away from the target. You'll see here that you see both Lotuses are right on the target, and both gave me energy and both hit the target. And because you do dash backwards using your elemental skill, you could use both elemental skills and your burst skill and collect all the energy anyways. Just keep in mind that a double dash will put the enemy on the border of the elemental burst skill. So I recommend you do something more like double elemental skill and dash up into burst skill. You'll still get all the elemental burst energy as you see here, but you'll be a lot closer to the target. Now I'm going to show you some charge bow mechanics. You can see here I took off most of my crit gear and only have 9% crit rate, but you guys do know that hitting a weak point is a 100% crit chance, but you'll see here that only the first part of the arrow is going to be 100% crit chance. You'll see the first part hit and the second part did not. Once again, we'll show it here with the first part critting and second part not critting. First part critting, second part not critting. Now another charge bow tip is that you do not have to hit the target to get the Frostflake AoE damage. You could shoot at the floor and then it will still blow up, and you could do like a little Halo rocket floor shot to go and hit the targets even if they're invisible. A tip or mechanic most players know is that if a pyro agent goes invisible and they are afflicted by an element, they are still visible with their outline. So you can still easily shoot them with the bow if you want, or you can just shoot the floor if it's too hard to track them. Another small mechanical charge arrow tip is that keep in mind the Ascension 1 passive only activates when you fire a Frostflake arrow and only boosts the crit rate of subsequent Frostflake arrows and their bloom for 5 seconds. Frostflake arrows are only the charge level 2 arrows. Charge level 1 arrows are just a regular charge arrow, and when it turns to charge level 2, it's a Frostflake. You can see here, I did a charge level 1, no buff, but if I do a charge level 2, I get a little buff for extra crit rate. And the last mechanic tip is a very small one, but keep in mind the Ascension 4 passive does give you a 20% additional cryo damage bonus when your burst skill is active. So you can use your burst skill into your elemental skill really quickly to get your melt, as well as 20% bonus. And to end the video, I'm just going to show you a little fun party trick where you're going to teleport left of the Dawn Winery, and you can do this anywhere you want, but this is one of the set locations I like to do this. You're going to teleport in, do not move, just move your cursor and aim down, and you're going to look at the top left of the map and aim your character's arrow towards like the fork of the road, a little bit down south, and you're gonna aim as high as you can, let go, and you're gonna teleport to the statue of the 7 or the shrine, and look directly to the left or the west side of the world. And you'll see your arrow flying right there, and you and your friends or you yourself can try to play catch with it if you're that bored, because there's nothing to do in Genshin Impact. Alright, that's going to be all for this video. I hope you guys did learn something. Please do consider leaving a like, comment down below what you guys think about Ganyu, and if there are any other tips or mechanics that I did not mention in this video, please subscribe for more Genshin related content. Join our Discord to be part of my Genshin Impact community. Follow me on Twitch if you guys want to watch some more live Ganyu gameplay, especially with team comps and various other things. Follow me on my socials such as Twitter and Instagram if you guys want to get quick info on Genshin Impact, such as promo gem codes or some leaks or news, etc. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!